Hi, this is Brian Wickland with Garfinkel Schwartz. I'm coming to you today from our Maitland, Florida office, which is a suburb of Orlando. We also have offices on the Space Coast in Cocoa Beach, Florida. But I travel all around the world, all around the country, to represent people that are under special laws that are covered by the federal government. I'm coming to you today, although I shouldn't have to tell you this, I feel it necessary because so many people call me and they don't even know what law they're under or what type of claims they may have once they get injured. I'm talking about people that are under the Longshore Act, the Continental Shelf Act, the Non-Appropriated Funds Act, the Defense Base Act. All these are offshoots of one another, and they apply to people. It sounds so complicated, but they just simply apply to people that work somewhere, that get injured under a contract, that are not on a state territory. They're not part of a state. So to make it very simple without all those large and giant words, if you work and you get injured and you work at a military base or an airport maybe, or a port authority, or maybe you're working on an oil rig, or you're working anywhere outside the continental United States under a government contract, whether that be Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, anywhere that you couldn't say, hey, I got injured in a particular state of the United States, you may or may not, probably will be covered under an act that our firm specializes in, that our firm only does that type of work. It's a special niche of federal workers' compensation type laws. So if you do get injured and you don't know what's going on and no one will tell you what your rights are and who you're supposed to call once you get injured, you should probably look into calling us or an attorney that specializes in this type of law if you are working on in an area that is labeled as a federal land as opposed to a state land. And this also applies to rivers, certain areas of rivers, and tributaries and deltas of rivers are governed by the United States government, the federal government. And the reason I have to tell you this and explain this to you is because a lot of employers, I've gotten so many calls where employers will not cooperate and not tell you what area of law you're under. And so a lot of people come home. Let's say they come home and come home. I'm going to Wichita, Kansas next week. So my client in Wichita, Kansas gets injured in Afghanistan. He goes back home and he starts calling the yellow pages for state workers' comp attorneys because he thinks it's a workman's comp case, but he doesn't realize that this is a federal case. And not many workers' comp attorneys that do state workers' comp have any idea what the federal rules and federal laws are. They're very complicated. So you have to find someone that specializes in that. My advice would be, as part of, if you're going back overseas or you're entering into the federal realm or the longshore realm and you're starting a job, one of the things on your checklist should be, while you're endeavoring into the contract, ask people, if I get injured, what law am I under? Am I under the Defense Base Act? Is this a longshore case? Who would the insurance company be if I get injured? They're going to tell you those things if you ask. They're not going to tell you those things if you don't ask. So if something bad does happen, at least you know who to call right away, instead of sitting in a hospital bed wondering what these people are going to do, if they're going to abandon you or if they're going to tell you what to do, or are you going to have to look for it by yourself. At least you know a starting point. Hey, I think I work under federal lands. Maybe I should ask my employer before anything happens. You know, is this going to be AIG? Is this going to be CNA, Broadspire, Zurich? You know, who am I going to be dealing with if I do happen to get injured in this area of land that's a federal land? So any questions you have, even if you may or may not be covered, it's definitely worth a phone call to me or someone else that specializes in this type of federal law. And I hope nothing ever happens to you. I hope you don't have to call. But if something happens and you're injured and you really don't know where you stand, please give us a call for free. We'll talk to you and explain to you what your rights are, and we can take it from there. So thanks again for listening. This is Brian Wickland, lead counsel at Garfinkel Schwartz, signing off from the Maitland, Florida office. Thank you.